Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Podcast. Back on the show here with BurrOaks77, my guy. We're going through some NBA stuff here for Monday. Really happy to have him back, as he was definitely the breadwinner for us last time a week ago when we made some picks, including a beautiful soccer play that came through for some nice plus money. I'll let him tell about that here in just a sec, because I do have to unfortunately run through what happened on Friday, which was just awful. This is actually Saturday when we had some picks that Nate and I made on Friday night. He's the only one who had a winner. He had Pajemski B-Pod there over 11.5 points, and everything else was a dud. And I can go through some of the bad beats. Really, the only one was Kobe White, and the other one was Brooklyn and Golden State with an end of the game free throw. I don't know who was watching that at the end of Saturday night, but it was unfortunate. Also got the under there wrong for Atlanta and Cleveland. You can read what's on the screen. I don't need to run through it again and feel bad. I will say we've got some pretty good looks for a Monday that has 9 games on the slate. On the season, we're still up 0.8 units, man. We were up roughly 8 before the last 4 days, and things just did not go well. So we start anew. I still feel pretty confident about it. I'm, like I said, extremely happy to have you on, Oaks. I'm going to let you take over for a sec. I'm going to let you give us your best bet, but run through how you did last time when you were on here with us.
Yeah, I mean, I did okay. We missed on the Dame points. He just wasn't feeling it. He had like 9 in the third quarter. I think he, banged knees with somebody.
Yeah.
He ended up like only hitting 2 free throws there and got a lot of run in the fourth. So just wasn't his night. Game, I believe, went to overtime, and Vooch still hit his under on rebounds. And as you can see, we're going to go back to that well, because he's fucking soft. I don't know how to say this in a nice way, but that big man is soft as shit. He was letting Kobe White get rebounds over him because he just doesn't care. And that's fine, whatever. Butler was another tough loss in a tight Miami win. So we didn't get him to hit his 25. He finished with 24 exactly. But if you were listening, I did say I liked his 3. He did take and hit his 1-3. I'm a very big fan of props that are low numbers like that. I like taking guys, hey, if you can do one thing once, I like those props a lot. We got our Kuzma under because he doesn't pass the ball, and they got blown the hell out. And then, obviously, as Josh mentioned, we got our Pulisic shot on target in Champions League. That thing's been a money printer for me all season. Continue to go back to Pulisic, even now that Leao's back in the lineup. He's going to keep shooting, and he's clinical when he does it, so he normally puts it on frame.
Yep. Keep bringing us winners, man. We don't care what freaking sport it is. I love soccer. I don't care if the people out here watching don't love soccer. They like money. So I think we keep bringing those for them, and we get to talk about an American. So I'm with it. Here we're talking about a non-American. God bless you, Vooch. But like you said, second lowest free throw attempt rate, I think, for any center in the league. I know DeAndre Ayton has him beat because somehow he's even more baby poo than Nicholas Vukovic. But let's go into Nicola's under 10.5 boards in this game against the best, second best, one of the best centers in the league. I don't want to start that controversy right now.
Yeah, look, Vooch, he's getting a tough matchup here. I know he's had success against Philly before, but like this we're getting plus money on a Vooch under when he's got a bad matchup, and as I've said, he's soft. So like I don't know why I wouldn't dip back into this market. I know I talk a lot of Bulls stuff when I'm on here, and I'm gonna keep talking a lot of Bulls stuff because that's the NBA team that I am a fan of. And it sucks because like I watch their games, and like I would really like to not sometimes, but then like out of nowhere you'll be like, okay, well, this team's garbage, and then they win 5 in a row, and you're like, wait, what's going on? And it's like, man, it's just we're stuck in basketball hell. And look, the thing here with Vooch is like I'm fine if he goes off and has a crazy night for some reason, and I'll enjoy watching the game, but I just don't see it. He's got a bad matchup. He's soft in the paint. He doesn't care about his stats, really. It seems like, especially when you're letting Kobe White out jump you for rebounds that you're both standing there in the paint for, and you're like, no, it's fine, just Kobe can have it, which like is great for Kobe. It's great for his stat sheet. And I do like the way Kobe's playing. I know he's been red hot lately. So yeah, I mean, Vooch, like I want something better out of a big man. I don't want him hanging out around the perimeter trying to take threes, but that's what he's doing. And if that's what he's going to do, then I'm going to keep taking his unders, especially when they're plus money.
Yeah, you're taking an under rebounds in a game against the Philadelphia 76ers, right? For someone who's playing against Philly, yeah, I'm with that. I've done that a couple times in a row in the last week when Philly was just playing their cupcake schedule of like Washington twice and the Pistons twice and the Hornets as well, right? Like that was their week last week. And so I faded beef stew rebounds. I faded some Kuzma rebounds. Like there was plenty of stuff to fade in there because it doesn't matter what position you are against this Philly team. Not easy to get boards, and it's certainly not if the person boxing you out because you're the opposing center is Vooch. Now, I also know what you were saying at the beginning, which is Vooch has had a couple of like monster rebound games, but he's either had like 19 rebounds against this team or he's had like 7, right?
Yep.
And so in a choppy affair against Philly, who they're going to have to like come down to earth majorly for there to even be 11 rebounds for Vooch, because right now the rebound chances are not there for the opposing team against Philly, which is, like I said, why I keep fading anybody to get their boards against this team because they're just making too many shots. They're third in the league in true shooting percentage at this point. They're getting the best shot selection because of the speed of Maxey and obviously Embiid, who's playing like the MVP right now. So, yeah, this is going to be a better team than they faced in the last week, but not a better rebounder necessarily than Embiid has kept off of the boards already. So, let me keep it in this game here. I think we got 3 bets from this game because it's, I don't know, it's not easy to break down. It's easier, but I'm going to go with DeMar under 5.5 assists. And this is something I was telling you about earlier that's a little bit sketchy. It's plus money once again, though, for an under. And it's a little bit sketchy because of Levine being out. The sketchiest part about this bet is if Alex Caruso is out. And if Caruso is in, I like this a lot more. If he's not, I don't. Not that Caruso is your typical point guard, but he does have a number of potential assists per game that he's taking from DeMar as the guard off of him. And DeMar is still sort of the small forward because if Kobe is in there, if Caruso's in there, between he and Kobe White, that's the backcourt. DeMar makes it up with them, whatever. The point is Philly doesn't give up a ton of assists, especially not to the small forward position where they don't really give up much of anything, to be honest, as they've had some pretty good D at that position so far between Tobias and then D'Anthony Melton comes in and either is guarding. He'll probably be the one guarding DeMar tomorrow, to be honest. And D'Anthony Melton's been an incredible shutdown defender this season. So, like for this one, the assist, like I said, plus 115. I like that. I'm getting the plus money for it. That's more than anything. He's had gone under this number in 3 of 4 against Philly last year because they haven't played yet this season. And he only put up 8.3 potential assists per game in that time, right? So he's not getting that many chances. Granted, 3 of those games rather had Levine in there, which it's not like Levine was taking the assists away from DeMar. It was just it's your turn, my turn ball. And it still is, by the way, your turn, my turn ball. Just they're moving the ball a bit better, I will say, with Kobe White in there, but Kobe White's getting the assists. Much more than DeMar is. And the point guard position is one spot on the floor that is much more vulnerable for Philly than is that small forward position. The other thing is like DeMar, mid-range king. We know that. And you really need to hit the mid-range against this Philly team because you're not coming down low. Embiid still is a top 3 defender in terms of his opponent's field goal percentage right around the rim within 5 feet. It's going to be that way all season. It's not like I'm going to ever change saying that. If you come in against that massive, very nimble man who somehow can move, like I saw him block a shot from like 7 feet away that I was like, there's no way you should be that quick. You're like 285 pounds, right? So I'm going to continue to believe in the ability for Embiid to stop everything coming to the rim. DeRozan's going to have much more success shooting from the mid-range than he is continuing on to the basket where Embiid will be waiting for him. So I think him to shoot and get some points is a lot more likely than the assists, essentially.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I obviously have another pick from this game.
Yeah, let's get to it.
And so, yeah, I like Maxey here. Did I just take his points? Sorry.
Did you want something else?
I thought I took his points assists.
Oh, my bad. You did.
It's all good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you're good.
So, yeah, I mean, I still like his points too. Obviously, at over 23.5. I like the combo of the points assists here just because Chicago is kind of soft on the assists. Maxey can do, he's going to have a lot of the ball. I think he can push the pace on this Chicago team. I think that he'll be able to get breakout layups if he wants them. We all know how good he is with the ball and how good of a decision maker he has been. Look, I know he's been in a slump a little bit for the last 3 games, but his points, assists, he's 17 out of 24 for the season. Again, this game's in Philly, so he's got the home crowd behind him. The Bulls, they're there. They hang around games that they have no business in, and they get blown out of games they have business hanging around in. So I don't necessarily know how this game's going to unfold, but I like Maxey at home. I like Fade and Vooch. I like your read on DeMar DeRozan. And I know Tobias Harris has even been really hot on his overs for points, and is somebody that should be looked at. And I agree, because, I know Patrick Williams went off the other night, but he's been a complete I watched him play a game with 0 points. And
defensively, he's not going to be a world beater like he thought he should have been. Yeah.
Right. So this Bulls team, whether or not they show up and they give effort on the defensive end, I'm not sure about. But regardless, I like the position for Maxey. I like him at home. I like the points assist combo, because you do get a little extra breathing room, just because he might end up with 10, 12 assists because Vooch is soft, and you can get the ball to Embiid, and you can go dominate the paint down there. Or if they're doubling, guys, Maxey's got plenty in the tank to shoot over these Bulls defenders. Again, like you were saying earlier too, and if Caruso's out, I like this even more. So there's just a lot to like here. I think Maxey's a good position to attack it, because you do have to go up a lot to take stuff on Embiid. And I just don't like higher totals like that. And now I say that, and in the same breath, I'm talking about a 29.5 for points and assists. But, I very easily could see Maxey having close to 10 assists, and he can make 10 buckets, and he's good at the stripe. So if you put him at the line, that's kind of like giving up two freebies, because that's what free throws are. They're freebies.
And I want to put that really strong caveat on it for myself. By the way, the quick thank you to the graphics team for the quick work there to get Tyrese Maxey over 29.5 points and assists. I am the graphics team, but anyway, I like the bet for Maxey if Caruso's out. I will say, obviously, if Caruso's in, it's a scarier bet, because he's been so incredible defensively this season, as he really is every season. But more importantly, the way to score against this team is to go inside with Vooch down there. So Maxey is still in the top 5 in terms of point guards, percentage of his points coming from the painted area, right? He's getting to the rim. He's an attacking guard. He really does open up the shot with the drive. And if you can drive against this team, then you're in a good spot for sure. So I'm waiting to see what happens with Caruso. I don't mind hitting Maxey now, because if Caruso is in there, or if he is ruled out, that could potentially go up officially. If he's ruled in, it could potentially drop a bit, but I don't see it dropping much past 23.5 points for Maxey. So you're not going to lose too much value if you wait to find out if Caruso's in or not, but you will gain some if you bet it early. So that's sort of a preference for the type of bettor that you are. I'm going to go to another game here finally and move us away and talk about this Memphis game here with Jaren Jackson Jr. taking on OKC. So I'll just start with reasons why this might be a little bit of a scary bet, which is OKC plays at a very fast pace at home, 103 pace. They play a lot of offense at home. They give up more points because of how fast and offensively they are playing when they're in their home building. All of that said, I get plus money to go under a Jaren Jackson Jr. point total. It's one of my favorite fades in the league is Jaren Jackson Jr. points, because it's not what he does. We all want him to be this superstar. People want him to be this superstar that is like a go get yourself 25 points every game kind of guy. You cannot be a go get yourself 25 points per game if you're relying on catch and shoot so often. And that's what this dude relies on more than anyone else on his team. And as much as any other power forward in the league, he relies on catch and shoot threes for such a large percentage of his points. He's also relying on getting to the foul line this season as much as he ever has. 23% of his points coming from the foul line right now, which is a lot. And OKC done a much better job of not fouling as of late, even though they still foul a shit ton. So we really need him to not get to the rim, which I think will be a little bit better because Chet Holmgren's defense has continued to improve. I'm very, very impressed by it. He still gives up a ton of rebounds. But the fact that he just put up that impressive double-double against Jokic on Saturday night was absolutely freaking wild. Also cost me a clear winning bet that just he turned to shit in the fourth quarter, which was wild to watch for them to come back and beat Denver in OT. Unbelievable game. More importantly, back to Triple J. They are limiting power forwards to the 5th fewest points per game over the last 2 weeks specifically, with Jalen Williams much more healthy at this point, and they got Kenrich Williams back. So much depth at guarding the power forward position. The only power forward to go over 24 points versus them in the last 15 games that they played is Kevin Durant. 12 games, whatever, but very impressive stretch of like the other opposing power forward not getting 25 points other than the best scoring power forward or whatever you call it, Durant, right? Like that doesn't count, right? So yeah, it's pretty impressive. I also think Triple J is always liable to just get 4 fouls in the first 2 to 3 quarters. OKC is scoring the 4th most points in the paint. They're taking the 4th most shots from the paint. So there's plenty of opportunity to bump into him and get fouled, right? And that's why he's actually only averaged 27 minutes a game versus this team last season because he can't stay in the game. And he averaged about 4.2 fouls as well. So that's a part of why it's always great to take an under with Triple J is like, you don't even know how many minutes he's going to play. The blocks and the rebounds and the assists at times will be there, but the points are harder to come by.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I like Triple J's game. Because if you got a guy who can, there's nothing wrong with a spot up shooter. And I really like how he has improved from the free throw line because that was the biggest step up in his game, moving from college into the NBA and even going from a rookie into a sophomore in the NBA was, listen, they're called free throws because you're supposed to hit them. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's the difference between pros and college players. That's the difference between being in the league and being out of the league. That said, he does need to stay home a little bit more, and he needs to stop getting in foul trouble. He does like to defend, which is great. You love a guy that's going to give you heart and effort, but like, just sometimes you got to know when you're beat. Like, there's no call for running out to chase a dude off the 3-point line and his shot's already up and away and you get a terrible follow through foul. Like that's just giving up points. And in the NBA, you can't do that.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. That's a thing. Like you said, that plus the usage rate doesn't even really rise for him in any of these situations because he's still not necessarily getting his own shot consistently. And I just don't think he'll have the matchup as well in this game to really just like take over and dominate. So let's get to your third and final bet. I know we're going to talk about this game a little bit too here, the Mavs and the Nugs.
Yeah, okay. So this is a little bit of a reach. I know Murray is still working his way back into basketball shape, and that's a real thing. Minutes restriction, maybe not. Depends on what the coach feels like revealing to you. We all know he's coming back off an injury. It takes you probably 2-3 weeks to play your way into NBA shape because let's face it, running on the treadmill and going to the gym, it's not the same as playing a live sport. I think this line's too low. That's why I'm taking the over. I think it's in Denver, which is always a plus. You get the home team. I think really you're playing. You're struggling to see the ball go through the hoop. And I know for a superstar like Murray, who's always going to have confidence in his shot, and he should, because shooters shoot this, that, and the other. But like when you're having a tough time putting the ball through the hoop, you look, as a leader, you look to go fill the other parts of the stat sheet. And the other parts of his game that he's really good at is assisting, especially against the Mavericks, who play absolutely no defense and just want to play, kind of like Indy and other higher paced teams. They want to have a lot of possessions and they want to take a lot of shots and they want to play that higher paced basketball, which is good. But I think that's going to lead to a lot more opportunity for Murray on dimes, especially in transition, especially on set plays. And you got Jokic. I just think this line's a touch low. I'm going to pull it up right now. Sorry, I'm still stuck on the Chicago-Philly game since we had so much action in that one. It is just a very nice matchup. But, last time he played Dallas, that's points and assists. He dropped 13 assists against them. And that was at the beginning of this year. I can't remember if that was home or away. But, 13 assists. That's what I'm looking for out of Murray here. And when he's not injured / coming off of injury this year, he's pretty consistent with the 6 number. So, this 5, that's why I'm so enticed. I think this 5.5 is a really nice number. I know you got to lay some juice to do it. That's why we're talking about it tonight. And that's why we're going to get this video out to you early, because I'm fairly sure this line's going to close at 6.5. And that takes 4 overs away from him this season. So you go from a majority winning bet to a majority losing bet.
Yeah.
Now you probably will get a plus number on the over 6.5. And like I said, he had 13 against them. I'm just a little bit worried about his minutes, his conditioning, working your way back from injury. I think this is a really nice line here on Murray. That 6 is such a key number for him, and I'm going to take it. I'm going to take the over. I'll roll the dice, and I think minus 135. Yes, it is juiced, but this might be one I play to return a unit on instead of playing the unit just to get a little bit more return there.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, honestly, man, even if you take a minus 150 because you know that number is going to change, you're like, well, then I'll just be the fucking one to change it, I guess, right? Because I'll go ahead and hit this over until you guys want to push this thing up to 6.5, which is where his number normally is, and that's a big part of it, man. I mean, I've been doing that a bit myself lately. If you want to add it to you want to take 5+ and put that in a parlay, obviously same game parlay. That's another good moment in time to do it. I will say these bastards books, they are also privy to that. And so they won't even give you the alt opportunities that you want, right? They give you very specific shit alt numbers because you're like, well, I don't want that number. I want I want the normal sort of pattern here of what we're talking about. And you're not giving it to me because you're saying that over 5.5 is minus 150. But when I go up, if I want to take 5+, it should just be then minus 180, minus 190. You're telling me that's minus 250, then fuck off. Then I guess you don't want me to take that. Oh, you only want me to be between a hard place and a rock, and then you'll eventually move it. I'll get off of that. I do want to, before we go on, bring up one of our other favorite bets, right?
Yeah, real quick before we move on that too, I just want to let you guys know there are times when I'm like, yo, this line, I like this line. It's soft. I'll buy it the night before. And then if it changes enough, I'll buy back. I don't see this, one assist isn't going to be a buyback spot. For me.
Right.
So, if this moves to 6.5, even if the juice is minus 110, that doesn't move the needle for me on a buyback spot for a middle of only getting 6 assists.
Totally.
Something I would do. If I'm trying to do something like that, it's going to be a points market because you're going to have with people ruled in, ruled out. Then I'm waiting on injury news because I'm looking for a 3 to 4 point swing there if I'm buying back because I want to buy a better middle. A 1 point assist middle doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, you want more wiggle room there, right? Obviously,
right, because then you're just losing money paying juice.
Totally. Yep. No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that, and that's a good shout out, especially for when you're sitting on the precipice of a prop changing like this from 5.5 to 6. So let's briefly just talk about this. It's too many fucking points, rebounds, and assists against the Denver Nuggets. This is too mother freaking many. It just doesn't make any sense. I love Luka. There's very few people in the league that you go, oh, I don't know, 55 points, rebounds, and assists. I have to think about that for a second. And then you think about it for a second and you're like, come on, man, he can't do this against Denver. This isn't some cupcake opportunity. And it's not a playoff game that they have to have in a way that you're like, well, I'm not betting against Luka in game 6 against the Nuggets. He could get 60 PRA and they still lose this game. So let me temper this. But this is too high because Kyrie is out. Kyrie being out doesn't automatically equate Luka having historic moments. Historic would be what it would take to do this in Denver, where players just don't do this. You don't go over this in Denver for a reason. Their D rating is the same, whether they're at home or on the road. They're basically giving up 109, 108 points, 110, whatever, whether they're on the road or not. It's their offense that's stalled out. And to be fair, against a much better offense, their defense stalled out against the Thunder as well by the end there. But 118 points to an incredible offensive team like the Thunder in overtime. I would take that if I was the Nuggets moving forward. Doncic, I don't expect to be doing that. They just shut down Shai. I say shut down because he didn't get 30 points. And that's what this is going to take. Shut down for Luka means he doesn't get 35.5 points. Like, how is that a points prop? This is insane. So on principle, I have to take this under 55 and a half. And I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, he also doesn't have a history of doing it against Denver, especially home or away. Last 5 games he's gone over once, and it was by the hook by 56. Listen, going back to earlier this season when Murray had the 13 assist game, he had 52 PRA. Back in February of last year, he had 50. Back in December of last year, he had 44. Back in November of last year, he had 39. You got to go back to 2002 for him to clear this number. And Luka's very good, and he has been backpacking this team recently, and he has gone over this number the last 3 games in a row. None of those games were versus Denver.
In Denver,
a team that actually gives a shit and plays defense, and they weren't in Denver in the altitude where, listen, I know these guys are professional athletes and blah, 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 blah. It still takes a toll on you when you travel to Denver and you got to play mile high, and you're not staying there for a prolonged period of time like you are in a playoff series. Because, in a playoff series, it changes. They definitely have an advantage early, but if you got to play them 3 games in a row in Denver, you get your wind back staying at that altitude, Whereas when you're in and out in a day, in a game in the middle of December, that's not a playoff, it's not an in-season tournament, that there's no need for Luka to kill himself to backpack this team to victory. I love this underspot here because that number is absurd. There's 3 or 4 guys in the league that get numbers like this, and it's Luka, and it's Jokic, who's also been trending under on his PRA. It's Embiid and
Giannis.
Yeah, and Giannis, and that's it. Those are the only guys that you take one look at their PRA and you're like, it's over 50. This is a joke.
They're not even going to give that out. They would never give out another PRA for anybody else. Halliburton is starting to climb, but he's not going to get the double-digit board.
But that's because he gets 20, because he's liable for 20 assists a game. That's the thing. It's yes, I know Luka can put on his superhero cape and maybe go he could shoot out of his mind, go 8 for 10 from 3.
Yeah.
I still don't think he's going to fill the stat sheet enough to overcome. Because if he's red hot shooting, that means he's not passing. Then he's a black hole that the ball never comes out.
And Denver's another good team rebounding team, right? They're not just relying on 2 dudes who just gather all the boards. It's Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, and even Jamal Murray. KCP is not going to be in. So that is something there because you'll probably see a little bit more. But if you see Christian Braun, you'll be all right. If you see some Reggie Jackson in there alongside Murray, probably still be all right. But hopefully not too much Reggie Jackson so that we can still get the Murray assist. But let me close things out with an over on Bojan Bogdanovic because and I always mess this up. So it is Bojan. I always call his brother Bojan and him Bogdan. I think it's because he's rounder, so he looks like a Bogdan to me. Anyway, Bojan, though, is going to go over 20 and a half. And I actually started this bet, dude, because I was so ready to bet on my boy, my favorite Oscar Thompson, one of my favorite rookies, if not my favorite rook. I also love Keontae George, but I can't do it because I don't know when the fuck Monty Williams is going to play him. Dude, it's so annoying.
How does he still have a job?
I don't know, man. Because he's the highest paid coach in the league now.
He didn't even want the job to begin with.
Oh, that's why they had to pay him so much money.
We can't figure out up here in Michigan.
Unbelievable. Yeah, you're up there in the thick of all this in Michigan, so you know what the fuck is going on over there, which is wild, dude. Because I don't know what Monty Williams is doing with these rotations, but I mean, it's kind of a Steve Kerr thing, to be honest. Which is what it is. Let me just play my vets to keep my other vets happy. And so first of all, you don't have any vets. This is your vet. And you're just going to maybe you're helping. Maybe there's a promise between Monty and Bojan that he's going to help him audition for his next team because that's all that Bojan is doing right now is who would 16 points a game and a sturdy dude who doesn't turn the ball over and can get rebounds, right? 9 different teams I could name off the top of my head want that.
Right.
So that might be it, but his minutes have just destroyed Oscar Thompson. And so I'm using all that to be that's why I pivoted to Bogey because when I have a good matchup for a small to power forward who's athletic or a scorer against the Atlanta Hawks, I'm taking it. Just whoever, and usually it's the guy who gets out in transition that I want against the Hawks like, let's call it the second worst transition defense in the league, at least. They're giving up the second most points per possession, points per game in transition because they don't get back, and really they don't play D at all. I wish there was a D in their name so I could do the thing I like to do where I call like the Dallas Mavericks the Alice Mavericks because they ain't got no D. But anyway, the Hogs don't have a D already. So like either way, I can't take Osar because I don't know if he's going to play but when Bojan came back, he started taking the entirety of those minutes up to 34 a game in the last 6. And that's what's just plummeted Osar's ability to get over his props and why he hasn't gone over the 18 and a half points and rebounds. There was a point in the season where I was like, man, if he ever goes
That's automatic.
I can't wait to take that. If he goes through a cold stretch and they drop this, I can't wait. But it's not a cold stretch. It's a no minute stretch.
Right.
And I don't understand what you're doing in Detroit. If you're not winning games, then why aren't you playing?
And you're not developing your young players, then what the hell are you doing?
Does that all mean though that he's going to get 20 and a half, at least 21 points in this one though?
Oh my God. That totally means that he's going to get all the
right.
points.
Yeah.
Listen, we were talking pre-show, and like I don't want to sidetrack the show, but like I was watching that Baylor Michigan State game, and I tweeted and I talked to Josh, and I'm like, dude, first of all, they played at Little Caesars Arena and they packed the building and they absolutely destroyed Baylor by 30 points. I go, this is Michigan State's building now. Nobody comes to Pistons games. You go play your ass in Lansing because
Izzo walks up
playing good basketball, and now they're just hooping in Detroit.
Yep. Izzo walks up to Monty Williams and he's like, I'm the captain now, essentially. This is my building. That's what he should be doing. It's sad to watch, man. And like, I wanted to figure out a way to take an under in this game because, I mean, as we know, I love unders, and I took 2 in the first picks, 3 really with Luka together. But with this game, like, I can't take an under in a game that's probably going to have. I mean, the Hawks are going to score $130. Like, what are the Pistons going to score? Because the Hawks ain't playing D either. So, I couldn't in all good. I started to lean under for Osar. But I can't. It's the minutes. I just don't know which of those dudes are going to play minutes. I know Cade is going to play, and I know Bojan's going to play, and I'm just going to bank on that.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's run through it real quick for these best bets. We're going Vooch under 10.5 boards. We're going DeRozan under 5.5 assists. Tyrese Maxey over 23.5 points. Triple J. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
Maxey, yeah. Graphics, no worries. That's 29.5 PA.
Thank you. If you're listening, then you won't get messed up by my incorrect graphic. If you're watching on YouTube, know that that's 29.5 points and assists combined for Maxey, which I agree with because you are hedging against Caruso coming in and limiting the points a bit more, but the assists are still going to be there, especially if you just dump it to Embiid. That's a guaranteed assist. So Triple J under 24.5 points. One of our favorite players. I didn't know you had the same love for him, but I got to go under on the points when it gets too high for this dude because he's just not a ball dominating scorer like that. So Jamal Murray over 5.5 assists, still pretty good. Still pretty bad juice on that because it might turn to 6.5. If it does turn to 6.5, by the way, would you play that over if it's like plus 108-ish on FanDuel or some shit like that?
I'd need plus 110 or plus 115. Okay. Like I said, limited data on him this season especially, but he has landed on that number. He's landed on exactly 4 times, and that's why I want to get in now and take the 5.5, and I'm willing to pay the juice to do it.
Cool. Yeah. No, it's good to be clear about that, though, and I agree with you. I didn't put Luka on here because we kind of made a last-minute decision together as we were looking at that Dallas game against Denver, and we were just like, come on, man, this is crazy. So under 55.5 PRA for Luka Doncic. And finally, I am going over 20.5 points for Bojan Bogdanovic. Jesus, easy for me to say. In a game against his bro, by the way, he's gone over in his last 3 as a member of the Pistons against the Hawks because he's the older brother in that relationship.
Love it.
Do not let your younger brother outscore you, right?
I love a good narrative. I love a good grudge match. You give me a revenge game too, like playing against your old team. I'm like, dude, instantly, I'm taking that.
Love that. I considered that for Jay Randall in his game against the Lakers. So that's another one to watch out for because I think he's down to 22.5 points that you can get him at. And I think that's way too low in a game against the Lake Show where we don't even know if AD is going to be playing, which is a big part of that. So yeah, that's a revenge narrative though that I always keep a track of is like which of these dudes like Brandon Ingram and Julius Randle and all the other Lakers players that were really good at one point that they gave up for some reason.
That the Lakers sold for the
AD.
Lakers and they can.
Exactly. Yep. Did you have anything else? I didn't want before we run out of here. Did you have something else you wanted to throw at us, or are you good?
Yeah. For anybody who needs a little taste, early afternoon tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, my time. Noon on the West Coast. I got a hot one for you over in Spain. La Liga. Girona plays what is one of the worst teams in La Liga in Alaves. And you're getting a really good number on Girona's top of the table. I mean, Madrid won today, so they need all 3 points here to keep it going. And I think they're going to get it. We're going to take Girona -1 on the Asian handicap.
Love it.
It's really important to know because the FanDuel spread of -1 is not the Asian handicap.
Right.
That's basically -1.5, which means they have to win by 2.
Yeah.
-1 on the Asian handicap for Girona means if they win by only 1, it's a push. You get your money back. Last I checked, it was sitting around -112, -115, depending on where you get it. It's a really good number. They just beat Barcelona 4-2 in Barcelona. They're riding high. They aren't playing midweek football because they didn't make European football. They're well rested. They're owned by the same group who owns Man City. They know what they're doing. They're putting together a hell of a team out there in Girona. Like I said, they're top of La Liga. They're playing great ball. So it'll be a fun watch too, because I do expect them to get 3 or 4 goals against Alaves, who's just absolutely terrible. So yeah, if you like soccer, you'll very much enjoy that watch, and you get a little early afternoon action tomorrow.
Dude, I appreciate you as always. This was mad fun. I will just tease and foreshadow that Oaks is going to be doing some college basketball stuff. We're going to get a little bit more diversity on the Land Your Bet stuff here with BurrOaks77. So continue to follow along. Make sure you got that soccer bet in there from Oaks as well, so that we got a little bonus bet in there for you.
Want to know on the show on soccer bets?
That's right. Plus money, baby. So we will keep coming back to you for it. And until we do see y'all next, happy betting.